ek sê van die payment gateway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome.
Right. Welcome everybody.
The Ask Willie and Eugene Business Show. Welcome to our business show, guys. And today is a super cool day. So before we get started, maybe just introduce yourself. I know a lot of the guys, Mark, Sonia, welcome back. Part of our
Mastermind. Guys.
So anyone not part of our Mastermind group as well, maybe just comment there that you're not part yet. So we just know how many new viewers we've got. And yeah, welcome. Hopefully today you guys get a lot of value. As you know, we run this business show every Thursday. And every Thursday we interview someone that's got value to share that all of us can use in our businesses. So we interview giants that's got a specific subject knowledge, and we pull out all the information we possibly can to help us. So to help everyone. To help everyone from our tribe and everyone from that's part of the EHQ Mastermind. And then for all our new viewers that we are on today, we've got some exciting news as well. So before we get started, Willie, maybe just give us a quick rundown. We've got a small slide presentation, which I'll start. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, guys. So welcome to the show, everyone. So one of the things, if you become a digital entrepreneur, is you actually need credibility online, and it's something which is very, very important. The reason being is the majority of times when you're going to be selling stuff online, you're really not going to actually meet your client. So having credibility just makes that journey from becoming a lead to becoming a client just so much easier. And today we're going to have a special giant on the show, David Henderson, there from the Cape, I think it's Cedarburg. So yeah, it's hopefully we can give you a lot of value. So just a little bit of house rules. So guys, just put away your phone, close all your browsers, because we're using Webinar Jam. Sometimes if you've got other things open, it actually pulls the internet dead. So close everything down and keep your pen handy. Write down all the questions you have and refresh your browser if you've got sound issues. So just do that, and yeah, let's enjoy the show. So Eugene, maybe for everyone that's new to the show, just give them a rundown about who's EHQ.
Cool. So thanks, guys. So everyone that's not part of our Mastermind group yet, that doesn't know about EHQ and what we are about and what we do, we are creating a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, all digital entrepreneurs. We talk about business e-commerce, digital marketing. So that's our main focus, is helping everyone progress to this new digital age. So Entrepreneur HQ, we do business coaching. Myself and Willie is a business coach. And then we run tech businesses as well. So we've got Time IT and Value Smart and My Coach, which is our business coaching website. And then we've got Time Digital, where we do digital marketing, e-commerce stores, etc., for a bit larger companies that can afford to pay someone 15 or 20 or 30 grand, whatever, to build a sales funnel or to build an e-commerce store. Our passion, though, is entrepreneurship and helping entrepreneurs. And myself and Willie thought, how can we get to a point where we can help the small entrepreneur that can't afford 30,000 rand or whatever it is, and how can we support them on an ongoing basis? So we are part of Mastermind groups. We decided to start our own Mastermind group. That's 1/10 of the cost of normal Mastermind groups. And then on top of that, you get all our courses. So we've built courses on how to build e-commerce stores, how to run your Facebook ads, cash flow courses. So Willie's an accountant by trade as well. So how to run your cash flow, how to work remotely, which Dave's going to talk a bit about us today as well. If you're interested in joining our Mastermind network, it's $750 once off. That's a once-off fee to join our network. And then you get all our courses, you get our WhatsApp groups, we run business shows, we've got Zoom meetings where we do Q&A sessions with all our members. So there's a lot of additional benefits of being part of our Mastermind group. And then you also get contact details of all our giants that's on our show and how they can assist you. So later on in the show, I'll give everyone an opportunity. If you do want to join, like I say, once off $750. There's no hidden schemes or sales pitches or anything. It's purely a group of people connecting together. We chat daily on a WhatsApp group, and quite a few of our members are actually on the show today. So Sonia is probably our most avid supporter. She's never missed a show. She's never missed one of our webinars or our Q&A sessions. Thanks for your support, Sonia. And
Mr. George.
Part of the group. George is on there as well. Cool guys. So yeah, that is our mastermind. That's a movement that we're trying to establish. Is creating a movement where we can support entrepreneurs over a long period. So without further ado, let's get the show going and introduce our guest today, which is David Henderson. So I met David Henderson. I've spent hundreds of thousands of rands on entrepreneur events and seminars and webinars and courses.
And he has really.
And I met David probably about 6 years ago at an entrepreneur 3-day conference sort of thing. I think it was about 12 grand for this 3-day course that we went on to. And I met David there. And after that, we actually created this partnership on something that we were working and became really good friends. Since then, I've traveled with him overseas a couple of times as well, where we've gone to entrepreneur conferences, international entrepreneur conferences, such as New Zealand and those type of things. And just remained really good friends and benefited from having that type of connection. Someone that when you feel down, who do you call? Or when you feel up, who do you phone? Or when you want to get advice. That's the biggest problem, I think, for entrepreneurs is where you find this network of people. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend your time with. And everyone knows this, and we want to increase our emotional intelligence, and we want to create or increase our collective consciousness. Where do we find these guys? It's such a struggle to find a different network to tap into. And that's why myself and Willie started Entrepreneur HQ Mastermind Network. And we developed all our courses and stuff. Soon to come as well, I'm busy working on a new course, which is a mindset intensive. So it's all the mindset stuff that you need to learn about business. And it discusses in there what's the difference between successful entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs that's less successful. It's all about the entrepreneur that runs a business. Because at the end of the day, the business is a reflection of you. In any case, that is for our members, which I'll share with you guys. And then for today, just David Henderson. So, before we get to that.
Radio.
Super exciting news. So we are partnering with eBiz Radio. We'll share a lot of their content in our mastermind group as well. So I've spoken to Ingrid. She's the CEO of eBiz Radio. Awesome initiative. They've got over 1 million unique visitors per month. They are online business, 24/7 business radio station, which is just absolutely amazing. We need more stuff like this in South Africa. And we are going to partner with them to share content and collaborate and see where we can work together to be able to just assist the general entrepreneur that can't afford a lot of the high-paying services that some of the bigger corporate companies can.
Yeah.
So you'll know about eBiz Radio. If you want to follow them, there's their website as well. Go and click on the link, ebizradio.com, and see some of their podcasts. They've got a massive amount of podcasts on there. And I actually saw some of, so Time IT does IT services for corporate companies. And I actually saw some of our clients on there as well. For confidentiality, can't say who, but saw some of our clients on there, which is super cool. Just shows you how connected everything is. And if you can tap into the right networks, how many doors it can open for you. Sorry, Willie, you wanted to add something there as well?
Yeah, I said this kind of ties into what you said earlier about having this network of people around you. And this is the same for us, getting in touch with these guys so we can reciprocate to each other by getting them on the show and helping us to spread the word and us by helping them, So it's super cool and super excited just to be partnering with eBiz Radio.
Yeah, I think Ingrid said she'll join on a bit later as well. We'll see if we can. So Ingrid is the CEO of eBiz Radio, and I'm gonna twist her arm to be one of our giants on our show. And I mean, they've got 1 million subscribers. We can really learn from just their business strategy and how did they manage to get to that scale as well. So super excited to get them on. And then our speaker,
Ingrid here, Eugene. Let's welcome Ingrid.
Yeah. Hey Ingrid, thanks a lot. And please type in the comments if you have any links. people to follow. Yeah, high five.
High five.
So just really thanks for the opportunity, and really looking forward to partner with eBooks Radio and see how we can collaborate to make a bigger impact in South Africa and then eventually across the rest of Africa as well. The idea of e-commerce is that we can go international. The idea of using tech to scale our businesses is to go online and to scale internationally so that we can operate in different currencies, different climates, just a different way of doing business to leverage your risk. So today's speaker is David Henderson. So David Henderson, like I said, is someone that I've met before or a couple of years ago. He's a TEDx speaker, Small Business Award finalist, Nedbank Business Accelerator finalist, best blog in South Africa, and top 100 self-publishing blogs in the world, which is just absolutely amazing. The success that he's had in his business, and he operates it in a different way. So if you've got questions, please write it down. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end of the session as well, at the end of his session. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask. It's not every day that you can get access to this type of entrepreneur. So while he's on here, while we've got him hooked on our show, poke him, ask him questions. So yeah, it is a bit more. I'm going to, so Willie can maybe just take it further and just talk about this credibility and how important it is for a personal brand. And then I'm going to get David online quick.
Yeah, so I think we speak about it a lot, about building rapport to fuel your community online. And one of those things is personal brands. And personal brand is so important because one thing that you need to remember is that people don't buy from businesses, people buy from people. And once you get that concept and you can do that successfully, you'll be perceived as the master in your niche. And I mean, Eugene, it's very similar to what we are doing now. It's in a couple of months we will be it's something which we spoke about, and we said we want to be known as the guys that's going to be helping people to make this transition from the let's call it the analog world all the way to the digital world. Yeah. And we're going to do that by branding and by building that online credibility to actually enforce yourself as the person out there that people want to do business out there. So yeah, I'm super grateful to have David on the line today.
Welcome, David.
David.
High five.
And the crowd goes wild.
welcome, David.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Awesome, Dave. So, Willie, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, Dave. So, welcome to our show. Thanks for making some time to come and speak to our viewers. You are the giant of today. So, I'm curious to know, all of us are entrepreneurs that's sitting here, and there's something that lives within yourself, and it's you don't get away from that feeling of if I don't open my own business, it's just where did your story come from? How did you become an entrepreneur? When did you know that this is the journey that you want to take?
I still don't know the answer, to be honest. But I can tell you, my journey was accidental. So I wasn't the personality type who at a young age knew that he wanted to take over the world and that sort of thing. I kind of stumbled in accidentally after being in corporate for a couple of years. So for me, the process was almost reversed, where instead of starting out with a vision in mind, I progressed through corporate over the space of around 8 years, moving through quite a few different jobs. And every job had things that I really didn't like about it. Whether it was a bad boss, a bad colleague, whether it was micromanagement, bad salary, and things like that. And by process of elimination, I eventually figured out somewhere in 2011, probably starting, that the only way I could actually tick the right boxes was to start something I was in control of. So it wasn't necessarily a character I was, drawn by or attracted to, but it was a frustration of having worked for 8 years in corporate, was earning a really good salary, so money didn't actually play a part in the decision, thankfully, because we all know that. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it's all of us have this various stories, and it's interesting to listen to everyone tell their story. So Dave, you actually live there in the Cedarburg. Tell us how you're running a business all the way from there.
Photos. So Dave, but he's on holiday in Cedarburg, but he travels all over. You're in Germany, then you're in Durban, then you just keep traveling, but your business keeps going on. I actually have a few pics here that Dave sent me this morning. And
wow.
I was a bastard.
I just pulled those out of Google, actually. no, they're real. They're real.
And but I mean, this is such an amazing epic. I was doing Enneagram personality profiles, so I shared it on our Mastermind group as well. And one of the top 7s is being out in nature, and seeing all of this creates a mindset of infinite possibilities. And having this breakaway is just what it does for your motivation, your drive, and your energy to get refocused when you feel that burnout, when you feel that everything's just getting too much. And you are able to do this, and still it doesn't really affect your business. And that's what's really interesting to me. I mean, so many entrepreneurs want to start their business for freedom, for time, for money. And like you say, I did that turn out for you. But you somehow managed to keep this, to keep the freedom and the time and stuff on. And just tell us a bit about that.
So I think one of the things I'd probably say from my side from the outset is the fancy holidays or getaways. Technically, you could be employed and still kind of do that thing, So I think what makes it unique for me is that freedom was always one of my core attributes. So a couple of years ago, I did an exercise where I had to figure out and name my 5 top core values, and one of them was freedom. So now knowing that freedom, it was easy to prioritize freedom over other material things. So for me, getting out here to work from Cedarburg, for example, is not me splashing money. It's me being true to one of my core values. Yeah. And that's probably from the outset important, because technically you could be employed and still manage to take quite a nice holiday. But the ability to still work while, outdoors is just me, for example. So yeah, I have a business that I'm lucky enough gives me the freedom to work remotely. And another part to add on, which you guys obviously know intimately, is the illusion of being, of having absolute freedom as an entrepreneur is a myth. You think, well, I'm going to have freedom and I'll start my own business and then I've got the whole world I can explore. And even though my business is designed to be remote, I've found at times the fear sometimes can actually be paralyzing, to the extent where I'm more, stationary than when I was employed by someone else. So the freedom often can be a myth. You think, for example, I'm going to earn lots of money, and that's not always the case at first, at least. And the second thing is, I'll have absolute freedom. And using myself as an example, I found that often the fears that are part and parcel of what we do, the doubt, the fear, it often means that you actually end up being stuck more than you would expect. And this trip is a perfect example where I'm out now, and I won't lie, it's amazing to be. I'd like to, like if I could spin the webcam just down and show you. But the fear I felt in getting here was real. The doubt of going, could I afford to, was a definite barrier to overcome. So it's not as obvious in terms of the freedom and the income as it seems from the outside, I think. But it's
so. I want to just poke around your business as well. You've got this amazing concept the next one, I want to get onto the personal brand side of things. Just one last question before we get to that is, you've built a fairly big business, yet you don't employ anyone permanently. And this is almost, for me, the new age of business. It's the next evolution of business, is that we all freelancers helping each other sort of thing. So we become this connected network. Just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a couple of decisions early on when I started out, like decisions you either make deliberately if you have the experience, or accidentally like me if you don't. The one decision, for example, was, am I going to be a freelancer? Am I going to be a professional selling my time, or am I going to build something that outlasts me? Am I going to be David, the ebook guy, or am I going to build a business where I take a step back from the front and I build a brand that I could then sell or package? And I made that decision deliberately early on to go, Dave's integral to the business, but he's not the business. So because I believe there's a core difference in decisions that a freelancer makes compared to a decision that an entrepreneur makes. One of the driving forces, I think, is that as a freelancer, the decision you've made is often not your choice. You were retrenched, so you became a freelancer out of necessity. You got fired, or you had a partner who earned the bulk of the income, and you only needed to do a small amount of work. And so the freelancer, in my eyes, was someone who didn't necessarily make the choice deliberately, but potentially was forced. And the problem as a freelancer is that the pricing you can command for your brand is a lot lower than what you can command. Can you see my hands here? I'm not quite sure. The pricing you can command as a business is a lot higher.
Yep.
So early on, I said, I'm not Dave. I'm my ebook, the business, and it affected a lot of decisions down the line as well. So back to your question. Your question was specifically how I structured the business, and so when it came time to who I partner with, because obviously freelancers. Firstly, if I had made that decision to be a freelancer, freelancers don't always partner or play well with other people. It tends to be a scarcity mindset of I'm going to hold on to the business. I'm going to take as much as possible, because if I don't get it, someone else does, and that's a loss. Where the entrepreneur mindset goes, I can do more with other people than I could ever achieve on my own. And so the decision came first. And then when it came time to building a team, I had a choice of, do I hire internally and go, I'm going to hire a staff member, because one of the pros would be, for example, I have absolute control over the culture of the business. So I can tell the staff member how to answer the phone, the tone of voice, and I can have things like that. The problem, obviously, is the salary expectations are quite high. And in South Africa, the law is not always in the people hiring's favor. And so I didn't want to. I think the biggest point for me where I turned around and decided otherwise was needing to keep people motivated. And I realized that I could someone who was in the game, who had skin in that particular field, motivation was not a big problem. I could plug into them and say, guys, I want to lock you into my business, so you can't do my sort of business for other people. But it took care of the problem of motivating these people. They already knew how to speak to customers. They already knew how to handle email etiquette. So their prices were lower. I could get them to sign contracts, making parts of the business exclusive to me, saying, for example, you will only do book covers for my business, although you do graphic design elsewhere. And generally, the level of professionalism that you got for your money was a lot higher than if you tried to hire someone, at the equivalent salary.
Okay.
Definitely.
Did that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity. Dave, just out of curiosity, before we move on, how do you actually manage these people remotely? Do you use tech or? Yeah,
so probably the biggest decision you make from the outset is partnering with the right people, because the right sorts of people determine how they need to be managed. And so if you hire or partner with the wrong person, you're going to spend time micromanaging. Is it done? Have you done it yet? Why isn't it done yet? Why did you say it like that? Because communication with the client, if done properly, leads to natural upsells. So if you have a friendly conversation from the outset, often you can spot those kinds of things where you go, well, I'm helping you with this, but I can see you need this. Is it okay if I quote you on that?
Yeah.
And so partnering with the right sorts of people take care of that. And so early on, I had a churn of people that I went through where I was inexperienced. I didn't know how to manage people. But I also worked with people probably based primarily off price, going, well, they're cheap enough, I'll work with them.
Yep.
And I tended to early on burn through possibly 5, 6, 7 different people in the admin role, for example. And then eventually I got to the point where I could recognize the attributes that meant the most in my business. For example, it's not necessarily how strong your expertise is in a certain field. You could be the best website designer, but if you can't communicate, it wouldn't be the same. The customer wouldn't feel the love. I wouldn't feel the love. And you can't explain the value you're providing. As opposed to someone who provided slightly less, on the expertise side, but they could communicate with the customer the value that they've given, and they could let me as a business owner know we've done the job you asked us to.
Yeah.
And so I initially burned through bunches of the wrong people. I've then found the people that I hold on so tightly to make sure that I look after them, because once you've found the right people, depending on your relationship with them, they won't always come back to you and say, hey, Dave, you're not paying us kind of what we're worth. So it's up to you as a business owner to kind of have your finger on the pulse and go, hey, Eugene, listen, I can see you're a little annoyed with that customer. If we had to quote again, would you quote differently? And you almost have to protect the people that you work with as much as you protect your customer.
Yep.
Because one bad customer can abuse your team. And if you aren't seen to protect them, your risk is not losing the customer, it's losing that partner from the business.
Yep. Yeah.
So before we carry on, I just want to find out how many of you guys are interested in building a personal brand for your business, know how important it is to have a personal brand for your business. Because you're going to get labeled, you're going to get branded in any case. So the question is, how do you want to get branded? Are you going to choose how you get branded? Or are you going to allow your customer, the public, society to brand you? Or are you going to choose that brand? So in the comments, just type in, do you have a personal brand at the moment? Do you want to start a personal brand? Where are you on this journey? Yeah, George, I think a personal brand for your stuff is going to be critical.
Yeah, it will great.
Personal brand, like we discussed on the call yesterday as well. Having that personal brand is going to be critical as well. So Dave, I want to chat to you about the personal brand side of things. Firstly, just a quick overview. What does my ebook actually do?
So the business I started back in 2012. Okay, I'll try to keep it compact. But the business I started back in 2012 was wrapped around one customer. At first, it was my dad. So I had a problem. My dad had books that he was struggling through locally. In other words, the printed books, they weren't finding readers. He wasn't making money. He wasn't getting paid properly. And he brought that problem to me. And I then, over the next few months, figured out a digital solution. Going, okay, so the local South African-centric approach is not working for my father, the author. What solution could I offer to get him over boundaries, to get him overseas, to get him into the hands of new readers with the least amount of effort possible? And after I had kind of bumbled my way through that process, I struggled. I went through a bunch of South African service providers who gave what, unfortunately, I'm going to term proudly South African service, where specs changed halfway through, costs changed halfway through, communication was terrible, and that was par for the course. Like ebooks back in 2011, 2012 were quite new, and the level of service I got from the local crowds was so shocking that eventually I found my own way. And after helping my dad get his book published online, for example, I realized that this was a service other authors might need. And so essentially the business we have today takes an author from the first steps of my writing is now finished, what do I do next? Through the self-publishing process from beginning to the very end, where your book now appears live online, for example, on Amazon.com. We started back in 2012 with my father being the first author. I think today we're sitting on around 330 odd authors helped.
Wow.
I'm sitting on a queue probably today of around 21, 22 authors currently in production right now.
Sure. What an interesting solution you've got for guys out there. Tell me, Dave, how important is an ebook for someone that wants to build an online brand or online credibility?
So the ebook is a deliverable. It's a thing at the end of a process, but the process itself and what it unlocks for the person, for the entrepreneur, is the exciting bit. Because what an ebook represents is it represents leverage. It represents, potentially a business owner who answers the same questions again and again and again. Why not, for example, have an ebook that answers those questions for your customers? It represents a digital business card. So a lot of people know the process of sort of meeting new leads and introducing yourself, going to their offices and dropping the business card. Now, the problem with that is people psychologically, they get the business card, they look at it, they put it down. Now, I'm sure you might have an amazing business card, but surely you can see that having a book as an example is going to be in your favor in bringing in new prospects, new customers.
Yep.
And the cool thing with the evolution of the book is it destroys what you think books are, because we think books are thick, dusty, in the shelf. Where if I had to ask each one of you to list out the top 10 or 20 commonly asked questions that your customers give you, I'm pretty sure you could knock out something pretty quickly. Now, that's a basic guide. Because the books are delivered digitally, the costs are fairly low in a matter of like a few dollars, for example. People's expectations of getting the next Harry Potter, they've changed. So you could release a book of 20 to 50 pages, for example, based purely on your expertise. And it does need to go through a professional production process. So a lot of people would take a Word document and kind of print that and drop that in front of people. A badly done book.
I've done it. I'm guilty.
And the thing is, it's almost like a badly designed business card on a worse scale, where the people won't say anything to you, but it's the people that don't speak to you that you've lost, and that's the cost. Whereas that book, even if no one ever wants to buy the book, it services your in-house customers. Because let's, for example, say you've answered those common questions. Even if no one buys a single copy of the book, firstly, you're now a published author, meaning your authority is increased. The amount of money you can charge is increased. And as a third bonus, you get to use it internally within your business as well. So there is no bad scenario. If it's done professionally, there is no bad scenario with that.
So that actually makes me think the guy doing the Word document as an ebook is the same as what Willie said last week of the companies doing the accounting on Excel.
It's exactly the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing.
Have you done one on Word? I have seen one on Word. I have.
Let's stop.
Cool. So tell me, Dave, I'm curious to know, what would you say the first three things that people need to do in order for them to create an online brand or credibility?
It's like asking the meaning of life. Okay, so I think the first barrier to overcome is you have to accept how important branding is, because I think as South Africans especially, we have such a bad connotation to sales, and so branding is essentially the art of selling yourself.
Yep.
And so the first barrier to overcome, and the biggest barrier to overcome, is actually realizing how awesome you are, realizing that people are willing to pay for what you know. You have to set yourself apart, because that's what branding is. Branding is essentially you putting a big sign around yourself going, hey, hire me, please, And then the natural question is why? Why should I hire you? And you have to be prepared to answer that. And we have such a bad connotation with sales. We think, the robocalls, we think the cheap telemarketers or the Nigerian prince scam emails. And the problem is, it's been cheapened a lot, but going into business, it's going to be very hard to avoid selling yourself, because a lot of your credibility is given to the business. So when someone says, "Hey, Eugene, why should I trust you?" "Hey, Willie, why should I trust you?" You need to be okay kind of differentiating yourself and say, "Well, I've got loads of experience in the industry. I've got a lot of happy customers. I've been given these awards." And so being comfortable selling yourself is one of the first steps you need to take, because that's going to enable you to help more people. A lot of people, if they aren't convinced about you adding value, they're not going to take the first steps to begin with. Everything else after that is a matter of explaining to other people how awesome you are and why you're awesome and how you're uniquely qualified to solve their problem. So the problem with branding is a lot of the time you're naturally inclined to focus on purely yourself, your own business, yourself. But you need to know that your customers technically might be pissed off about something. There's something that they're really angry about that you're going to promise to help them solve. And so a lot of the branding and marketing you're going to do is not necessarily focused on we're awesome, use us, but it's going to focus on, hey, you must be really annoyed with your IT answer right now, or hey, are you getting messed around by people in the book industry not giving you the help you need? And so a lot of the branding is actually using pain points to hook customers. So you need to be prepared to focus on the pain points, and being a good listener really does help as well.
That is such a difficult part to do as well, from the perspective of talking about yourself. Growing up, especially our generation, I don't know what the generation of these days are, but don't talk good about yourself. You're not allowed to think you're better than anyone else. Sit down, shut up, keep quiet. So we constantly pushed down, and like, you're not allowed to talk about yourself. You're not allowed to talk about money. You're not allowed to sell. Salespeople are bad. All this type of conditioning that we go through. And then you become the entrepreneur, and it's literally the opposite. You have to talk about money. The opposite. You have to network. You have to talk about yourself. You have to say that you're an
interesting topic. Like I found, so there's so many thoughts that popped into my head while you were saying that. The one thought was, my most successful friends are the same friends in business who are the most open about how they're doing financially. Whereas the friends who are the worst off tend to be the people who say, "Oh, money, I don't want to talk about that." Because like Eugene, you know that one of the first questions we ask each other when we pick up the phone is, "How's cash flow?" And we have brutal conversations about cash flow is really messed up. I'm broke. I'm struggling. And that's okay to share that vulnerability because we know it's temporary. Yet the people who've gone, "I'm not going to talk about that, that's private," tend to be the same people who are here today, gone tomorrow.
So I'd like to talk about that as well and just share that. So myself, as I mentioned earlier, is myself and David's personal friends as well. And we talk on a regular basis. One of the first things is, "Hey dude, so I've got this amount of money in my savings account. I've got this amount of money in my current account. I've got this amount payable. This is the amount that's coming in." So you need to be able to have that conversations. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't build up good enough relationships and networks to be able to have that conversation. So you need to be able to talk about those things. Otherwise, how are you going to get the right advice? Just a quick joke as well is, well, it's not a joke, it's real. I figured out the meaning of life.
Better be good.
I actually know the meaning of life. Life has no meaning. Your purpose is to give life meaning. Life by itself is broken. You basically study, grow up, have kids, help them grow up, and then you die. What's the purpose of life? To create meaning, to give life itself meaning. How do you give it meaning? Is what you choose. And I think that's a journey entrepreneurs go through. Because the average person, you go to work, you go home, you watch TV, you fall asleep, wake up the next morning, do the same thing. Weekends, you lie in because you're so tired because of all the work that you did through the week. You just want to do nothing the whole weekend so you can recharge and do the same thing the week after.
It's easier to hide your problems, your personal faults, your personal demons when you're working on other people's problems. Being an entrepreneur means you spend a lot of time alone with your own demons. And it means if you're lazy, if you procrastinate, you're going to face that pretty early on. every little squiggly thing under the rocks that you lift up, you can't hide from anymore. You've got to accept them, and the things you can't change, you have to work with the work around.
Yep. All those self words, eh? Yeah,
Any
cool.
more questions from your side before we hand it over to our viewers?
Yeah. So last question, Dave. You mentioned that guys think that writing a book should be this thick thing. I think that's the big misperception, and that's where a lot of people get stuck. It's just that kind of a book, and we grew up with these things. So the first question that I've got is, what would be what would be a good place? Where would be a good place for someone to start when they want to write an ebook? And what would you classify as a decent, let's call it how many words or pages? I mean, there's so many things you can do. What would you guys classify as a decent ebook then?
Yeah, so I'll take a step back, and an ebook is a package. An ebook is a container. What's important is the message you're trying to share. So an ebook is one way to deliver a message. There's audiobook. There's also paperback. And even the old dusty thinking we have of what a paperback is has been turned on its head, because now Amazon is able to not only take your ebook around the world, it's also able to take your paperback around the world too. So in the core of the ebook, the audiobook, and the paperback is your message. And so an author who says, how long should the book be? Well, how long does your message need to be? Because the problem is a lot of authors who target a word count, the obvious happens. You go, well, okay, I'm going to add stuff and I'm going to add stuff. And typically what happens is during an editing process, the editor takes out and takes out and takes out. So the beauty is, if you aren't going the traditional route, you don't need to conform to a length that a publisher might hold you to. So if you go traditional publishing to a Penguin or a HarperCollins or a Hachette, they prescribe to you what genres they're looking for. They prescribe to you what works well in terms of length, and they also want you to have a proven, following before they take a risk with you. Self-publishing as an option turns that on its head, where you have a message you want to share, and you want to say how you want to say it. Now, that's not an excuse for mistakes. A lot of authors say, well, it's my tone, so I'm going to skip editing because I don't want people to mess up my tone. And that's an excuse where you can have a tone, but a good editor should work through your book. Your book could be 10,000 words. It could be 100,000 words. The ability to charge people based on how many words your book is no longer really an option, because you would get your book loaded, for example, to Amazon. The readers on Amazon, they don't care that your book, took 20 years and outlasted 3 marriages. What they're going to see is they're going to see the final book. They're going to see it. They're going to say thank you, and they're going to see the book amongst the competition on the shelves who are charging X. And so the first misconception is going, no. The fact that this book is your baby, don't get so attached to it. Essentially, the book is a product. And one of the first conversations I have with an author is where I take off the publishing cap and I wear the business cap and I go, great, the book is product number 1. Tell me about product number 2 or 3. Tell me about your marketing plans for the book. So the issue of length is not so much an issue, because Amazon classifies a short read. If you give Amazon a 10, 20,000 word book, Amazon goes, okay, it's a short read. We're going to put it in the corresponding shelf. You're still a published author. You can still be a bestseller, and you still get the authority of being both of those. So the how long should the book be, or even better yet, the one I love most is how much money will I make? Is a moot point. Basically, I look at the author and I just give them a couple of minutes of awkward silence, and then we wear the business cap and I go, great. So, what is success for you? Because if success is money, being an author or being a business owner for that matter is probably not the quickest way to get it. If you write for a bigger reason, then your first book making $1 million is not necessarily, it doesn't change much, but your first book could be a lead magnet for upsells. And so again, if you make that decision early on, the rest of the book process falls into shape from there, where an author doesn't necessarily focus on making a lot of money from the sale of a book, but instead lowers the price of the book to get it into the hands of more people, knowing that if you are in front of a customer, you can upsell them as well.
So they started publishing my first ebook about 2.5 years ago. You're still waiting for the rest of the content.
that was the best I ever saw.
You should do a voice recording, Eugene, and just send it to them. I see that's the new thing. Just voice record, send it off, and get them to edit it.
So cool, guys. Before we get on, there's 1 or 2 more questions. I just want to give everyone the opportunity that's not part of our mastermind group. So I see a lot of the viewers are already part. George, Sonia, Mark, everyone that's on here is already part of our mastermind group. If you're not part of it, basically it's a mastermind group where we collaborate with people, myself, run it. And I just want to say thanks to the mastermind group as well, because the idea was that myself and Willie is going to run it and we're going to share updates every day, which we do. I get just as much inspiration and knowledge from the
community
as from our community. So if you want to join our community, it's once off $750. They should join our community. On top of that, we'll give you all our courses. So we've got a course on how to launch your e-commerce store, how to build sales funnels, how to upsell, as David was talking about now, how to create all of that, how to create your landing pages. Then we've got our Facebook 101 course, which shows you how to run your Facebook stuff. Willie's got the cash flow course that he does as well. So we're going to go through the cash flow part of things. And then you get access to our business shows and all our content and all the other content and access to a lot of the guys that we interview. We've got our monthly Q&A sessions. We've got Zoom sessions. It just goes on and on and on. So it's a ridiculous amount of value. $750. If you want to join on the right-hand side, there is an offer which will take you through to our landing page. If you do want to join it, just click on the offer, join up, $750 once off, crazy amount of value for once off fee, lifetime access to all our courses. Dave, so just to, so can you talk into core values, example of core values maybe? So I think we can all share our core values. It's a guy, John DeMartini, that does value determination. And you can actually do his course. We'll share it. Really, we must maybe just share it on our WhatsApp group afterwards.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Where you can actually go and do the test and you can determine your core values. So I think the top 3 values is probably your most important values. The others are less important as it goes down the hierarchy. It becomes less important. So my first one is learning and teaching. My second one is building connections. My third one is wealth creation. My fourth one is family. A lot of guys feel really guilty when they do that test. The first one's like, oh crap, oh, I better not do this. Wealth creation and learning and connections are all above family. Your core values, which is love and determination and passion and stuff, that doesn't list the order of importance. So importance is not the same as your values. Your values are the things on a day-to-day basis. If you spend your time on that, what gives you the biggest drive, passion, etc. So, Dave, you want to share your core values as well?
So before I give the values, I just want to give a quick example of how I use them. So once I've figured out my top 5 values, I essentially use them to help me make decisions that I'm struggling with. Because I know that if the decision I'm making touches on more than one of those core values, it's probably going to be the right choice for me. So if someone says, for example, hey, do you want to work on this project or partner with me, for example, I'll take a look and make sure that it's touching at least 2 of those 5 core values. So my 5 core values are honesty, connections, learning, empowerment, and freedom. And then I use that as a compass of sorts to help me kind of navigate things that I'm unsure about.
Cool. And then we've got Sonia's also asked, sorry, it was George. Asked, what's the difference between ebook and copywriting?
I saw that question. Okay, so George, so an ebook is not a PDF. Let's get that out the way. So a lot of people think, and I think in this group specifically, it's going to be relevant. If you give away a PDF from your website, technically people call it an ebook because it's short and simple. It's not an ebook in the sense of what Amazon would accept from an author. So a true ebook format technically is an EPUB or a MOBI file that reflows to shape different screen sizes. A PDF won't reshape to fit different screen sizes. If you take a PDF on your sort of laptop, it looks okay, but on your phone, for example, it might not read well. So the first difference we need to make is that, a PDF technically is not an ebook. An ebook reflows to shape different screen sizes, and it's more easily monetized on a platform like Amazon, for example. Copywriting has at least two different meanings. So in a sense of sales, copywriting means writing words to help you sell. So it could be any words, but it's words generally intended for the customer. In a publishing sense, copywriting is also a service provided by an editor who works through your wording to make sure that things are there's no embarrassing mistakes. So an ebook is again a package for your book's content. Copywriting is the process of actually writing the words or potentially editing the words as well, depending on in which industry you're in.
Awesome, guys. I think that's it for today. Dave, thanks for sharing your information.
That's fun.
Thank you to all our members.
Dave, our giant for today.
Yeah, and just thanks
Really
for
cool.
joining us as well. Yes, we've really building up a really cool network of people. I'm really inspired to have you guys part of our group and to have you part of our network and part of our community, part of our tribe. So internally we call it our tribe. So big up to all our tribe members. Thanks for being part of this again, and hope we gave you value as we continue to do. That is our main drive and our main purpose, is to give everyone value that's part of our network. And then to everyone else, just entrepreneurs, helping entrepreneurs to scale and launch their businesses. There's quite a few more questions that I wanted to ask you, Dave, so I think we might get you on another show as well, because your business is 80% of your business is tech as well. And we want to help entrepreneurs with tech. We didn't even get to touch on the tech side. So I think we're definitely going to get you back onto the show for another session.
Cool, man.
Otherwise, Matt, just thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Dave, for making time for our community. Nice meeting you, and hopefully when we see you in Joburg, we'll go for a beer in person.
That sounds like a plan, as long as you're paying, man.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Awesome.
Cheers, guys.
Super. Thank you, Eugene.
Cheers.